Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. My name is Andrew, and I'm the Business Development Manager at Marine Money Asia, based out of Singapore. I hope you can hear me. I'll be your host for this session. Marine Money is excited to welcome you to this discussion on Marsoft's GreenScreen program, which, as you may know, operates by accessing the carbon markets to help fund retrofits that reduce carbon emissions. Since we have collaboratively worked to discuss Marsoft's GreenScreen option, the industry uptake of the service has demonstrated significant commitment, not only to the issue of combating climate threats in practice, but an acknowledgement of GreenScreen's giant efforts to make the retrofit option a central tool in the industry's efforts. In today's webinar, I'm pleased to introduce Belinda, a Marsoft partner, and Aditya, a senior analyst, both from Marsoft's London office, who will introduce the program with a short presentation for 10 to 15 minutes. There will then be a brief Q&A session, and we invite you to submit questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens. We don't know how many questions we will get, but if we don't manage to cover all the questions today, Belinda and Aditya tell me that they will aim to send you some responses afterwards. We'll aim to wrap things up in around half an hour or so. So with that very brief introduction, let me hand over to Aditya, who will begin today's presentation, and then I'll come back later after the presentation for the Q&A session. So Aditya, over to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. And I hope everyone can hear me okay. And thanks all for joining us today. We know decarbonization has been the central agenda for most of us since almost 2.5 years, if not more. And rightfully so. The climate change is one of the most pressing problems that we face today, and we need to collaborate and tackle it collectively. So what Belinda and I are going to present today, it's a program that allows you to further your decarbonization goals. The GreenScreen program, it allows you to originate carbon credits for the emissions, the carbon emissions that you avoid by retrofitting your ships. So we believe that this program offers an opportunity to do something concrete right now. It allows you to try innovative technologies while we are still unable to order zero carbon ships. And this way we can prolong the life of existing assets. It's a breakthrough initiative. I don't mean to say that this is the first time carbon credits have been generated. No. They have been generated successfully before. International Paints did it. They originated carbon credits about 7 years ago for their premium coatings. But back then the process was a bit long. It was data intensive. You'd have to go through several years of noon report data. So it took a lot of time. With GreenScreen, we have significantly reduced this time. We can enroll ships very fast into the gold standard program with GreenScreen. We've also made the whole process low cost, and we've also reduced the risk component. More recently, we've collaborated with ClimeCo, and we are delighted with this collaboration. ClimeCo is a very experienced player in the international carbon space. And they have an experience of over 15 years originating and selling carbon credits. So with this collaboration with ClimeCo, we can now provide a complete package, right from enrolling the ship into the gold standard program to the annual cycle of verifying and monitoring the data, all the way to issuance and selling your carbon credits and monetizing the carbon credits for you. This also includes the sales of carbon credits. It's a one-time investment for which an owner is guaranteed carbon credits for a minimum of 5 years once the fleet is enrolled, and up to 10 years, but that is subject to a review at the end of a 5-year period. So these carbon credits are issued by the gold standard program, or rather the gold standard organization, and they can be sold in the voluntary carbon markets. There's a robust financial case, especially if you have retrofits which offer large savings, and if you enter a bigger fleet in the program. And Belinda will walk us through an example in a bit. If you look at the process, broadly, the process can be divided into three broad stages. The first stage is the verification stage, and I will walk you through the details of this stage next. Once the fleet is enrolled, there's an annual cycle of gathering the data or verifying the data and issuance of carbon credits. And this is where ClimeCo comes in. ClimeCo will package this data, they'll write up the project description, conduct third-party verification for you. And in this whole process, there is minimum involvement required from the owner. And we call this part project management, and the final outcome is issuance of credits. Finally, the last step is carbon sales or monetization. So once the credits are issued by Gold Standard, ClimeCo will help you sell these credits at a premium price. So ClimeCo has got a very experienced carbon trading team. As I mentioned before, they have been in the market for more than 15 years, actively trading in carbon space. And the company itself has generated more than 25 million tons of emission reductions from the projects that they've developed so far. Okay. So the GreenScreen part, the first part, it has got two main components. And the first main component is the model that we have developed in collaboration with MIT. This model allows us to accurately calculate the fuel consumption of a ship at various operating conditions. And all we need from an owner is the specifications of ship, which typically are available at hand. Once we have these details, we will produce a post-retrofit fuel consumption curve for various operating conditions. Once we have this curve, we'll verify the accuracy of this curve, which we have typically found to be at least 97%. We'll then put together the pre and the post-retrofit fuel consumption curves and generate a sort of delta between these two curves. This brings me to the next component of the process, which is the methodology we have developed in association with the Gold Standard organization. So Gold Standard will accept this delta as the basis to determine how well a ship is likely to perform once it is enrolled in the program. Yeah, so as I said, it's a very simple process, very predictable process. It is not at all data intensive. And we are constantly adding to the number of retrofits that we offer. So for now, we are offering bow modification, propeller enhancement, engine tuning, wake flow devices. We are constantly in touch with owners, and as and when we learn which retrofits owners are considering, we will add them to the program. So most recently, we've added silicone coatings. Typically, we found out that owners have at least more than one retrofits in place, and the savings that the combination of two or more retrofits offer, they're not always linear, and our model is able to capture these non-linear additions. With that, I'm going to hand over to Belinda to walk us through the next steps.
Thanks very much, Aditya. I'm just going to try to move that forward. There we go. Oops, one more. Okay, so as Aditya mentioned earlier on, with the ClimeCo collaboration, we are able to deliver an integrated solution that takes you the whole way through the GreenScreen Gold Standard process. With their experience, and as we said, there's a lot of years of experience. They've also originated 25 million tons of credits, and every year trade around 20 million tons of credits. So they have very strong experience to handhold owners through the entire process. And this is something which as we've talked to owners, we've found is very important, because they really don't have extra resources to put to this. They want to make sure that this really doesn't take a lot of time from their team. So we'll handhold you through that process. You can see on the right-hand side of the screen, there's a little figure there which shows the annual monitoring, reporting, and verification cycle. And this is going to happen every year. So you start in Q1 with data monitoring and collection, then you prepare the reports. Then there's a third-party verification, which is employed by the gold standard to look at the verification of the project, and then a project review, and then the credits are issued in Q3. And then I'm just going back. Sorry. The credits, are issued in Q3, and then the funds distributed at the end of each year. So this cycle then repeats on an annual basis for 5 years. And if your retrofits are deemed additional for another 5 years, then that will continue for a further 5 years to a maximum of 10 years. The other key advantage that we have with the ClimeCo collaboration is that they really are confident that they will be able to achieve premium pricing with these credits. They are considered to be, because they're ocean-related credits, they are considered to be as valuable as nature-based. So they're akin to the nature-based credits, for example, mangrove reforestation. And these are in high demand because there are not many of them. So they know many buyers of credits that are looking for these kind of credits. So we're very confident that we will be able to achieve a premium price, and they'll be branded as blue ocean credits. They will not be associated with any particular owner's name. So be aggregated as such. From a cost perspective, and we'll move on to that in a moment, looking at the financial case, there is a minimum upfront cost, and that's based on the number of unique ships. The fees are only paid out when the credits are sold. The bulk of the fees are aligned with the revenues themselves. So you only have a minimum upfront cost. The unique ship, so if there's 5 ships in a series, you only pay the cost for the one unique ship. So let's move on to look at a specific financial case. And here you see this is a 15-ship fleet. So this represents one of the fleets that we're taking through the program right now. There are 5 unique ships and 10 sisters. You have, therefore, upfront costs of $25,000 for each of the unique ships. You don't pay for the 10 sisters. The gold standard costs are actually then deferred until the revenues start to come through, and they're minimized because of the scale of the projects that we're putting together. And so you can see that the one-time upfront cost here is $125,000. Now, it's important to note that the cost structure is nothing to do with the cost of the retrofit. That's completely separate. And we would expect that the retrofit, the payback for the retrofit itself, will be covered by the fuel savings. The fuel savings are not accounted for here. This is purely taking into account the carbon piece of the equation. So if we just move through the calculation, the CO2 saved per ship is 9.3 tons per ship per steaming day. Sorry, and that comes from, obviously, you're saving with this retrofit. 3 tons of bunker fuel per day translates into 9.3 tons of CO2 per ship per steaming day, and we assume 270 steaming days per year. On that basis, we take into account a $10 per ton carbon price. That's a little bit above where the carbon prices in the voluntary market are right now, but we do expect that this is the kind of value that can be achieved with these credits. And it's also the level of pricing that you would expect to achieve when the first issuance is coming out, say, at the end of next year. So on that basis, the average annual net cash to the owner is over $200,000. So that's $1 million over 5 years. And of course, you pay back your initial investment of $125,000 within 1 year very easily. Finally, the average break-even price over 5 years is just over $1 per ton. So you can see that this case makes a very strong business case and absolute rationale, strong rationale on the financial side. So to go back to what Aditya said at the beginning, it's very important to take into account the financial case. Aditya, could you go back to sorry, we're on the wrong slide again. To go back to this one. Next one. Okay. So, I'll just leave it on that slide. We need to consider the financial priorities and the strategic priorities. So we know it's a strong business case, but we also know that the owners that will be attracted to this program have very, very strong and robust policies for sustainability, and they have very strong decarbonisation commitments. And this program aligns with both the strategic and the financial priorities. And we know that because we've seen that leading owners that have already enrolled in this program are above average owners that really want to do more than is required by the regulations to set a higher standard. And some of those owners that have joined us in the program are Starbulk, Golden Ocean, Prime Marine Management, and Ridgebury Tankers, and the Pasha Group. So a very strong group of owners, and many more are joining our project, which is kicking off at any time now. So this is, as we've said, I'm going on to the other slide again. So if we could leave that slide there, we've said that this is revolutionizing the original methodology. We've really made that much simpler, much less time consuming, and it's a low cost, very accurate process. We know it's a very strong business case. We've seen that very minimum downside and a very strong upside, especially as carbon prices in the voluntary markets are likely to rise. And finally, we know that there's a turnkey solution we can provide with ClimeCo, which takes us all the way from the origination of the credits right through to the sale of the credits and the monetization. And this whole process really fits with the goal of the gold standard, which is to incentivize owners to really do more than the industry standard, to go above and beyond that and invest in solutions that reduce carbon emissions even further. So finally, we would just like to say that if you have recently retrofitted some ships, if you are considering retrofits now, or if you have a retrofit program in place, as many owners do, then please get in touch, because we are currently enrolling ships in a Q4 project, a program of activities, and then we will be immediately able to start that project at the beginning of next year, and then you can get your first credits at the end of 2023. So it's very important to do that now if you have retrofits that have been completed in 2021, because there's only a short time that you're allowed to go backwards and look retrospectively with this. But please get in touch. We'd be very happy to talk to you one-on-one, and the contact details are on this slide, so you'll see how to get in touch with us. But I believe now, if I just move this one step forward, rather than, yeah, I can't see the question slide, but I guess we can keep it on this one. Okay, so we're going to stop now and take a few questions. I believe, Andrew, there may be some questions that have been coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much, Belinda and Aditya, for that presentation. For our audience members, as you can see on that slide, you can see the contact details there. So if you've got any questions that you want to get in touch with Belinda and Aditya directly, you can contact them through there. And so we have about 10 minutes now, which we'll open it up for questions. So if anyone in our audience have questions, please type it in that Q&A box at the bottom, and then I'll receive them and I'll ask a few on your behalf to the panelists. So, one of the questions that came in, and I think that a lot of people ask this, is are the credits issued on the basis of model predictions, or is it the actual operation? Aditya.
Yeah, I can take that. Thanks, Andrew. So the credits are issued on the basis of actual consumption data. So what the model helps in doing, it allows to enroll the ship into the gold standard program. So on the basis of the model's outcome, gold standard will enter the ship into the program. Once that is done, every year, an owner will have to submit the actual consumption data, and the credits will be generated on the basis of this data.
Thanks. And another question to Belinda on an ESG related question. Is GreenScreen consistent with ESG initiatives and ESG reporting standards?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Andrew. This is a very key question that many of our clients and the owners that we speak to are very concerned about. But it is consistent in terms of your sustainability reporting, that the consensus across reporting standards is that what you need to do is report your actual gross emissions and then separately report any activity from the production or the purchase or the sales of the credits, so that it's totally separate. And we would also recommend that you disclose what you're going to invest the carbon credit revenues in. Obviously, you're going to invest that money into further retrofits, which will then do more to benefit decarbonisation. Could you just go forward to the slide that comes after this, Aditya, which is going to show us a couple of examples that we could look at. It's just to stress that with the hard to abate sectors, if you go back one, there's a couple of examples here of two publicly traded companies that have used carbon offsets as a way to help reduce their emissions. It's not going to be the whole. It's not the whole story, of course. It's really to something that can be done now, and it's not the whole path to decarbonisation, but it certainly does make a difference because you're incentivizing people to do more all the time. And here we know that there's an issue for several companies and to be able to offset all their emissions. And ClimeCo is actually doing a lot of consulting work with companies like this to make sure that they can report correctly and that they're completely transparent, which is what is advised. You already have to report your DCS data to the IMO. And so as long as you then are very careful to report your actual savings from the retrofits, and then also what proportion of those savings have been sold as offsets. And this is really the whole concept that Gold Standard wants to see more done. They're incentivizing players in the market to actually do more than the industry standard and to move, to really set the path to decarbonisation a little bit faster.
Thank you, Belinda, for that answer. Another question that came in, energy efficiency retrofits lead to fuel savings and is a big financial incentive for ship owners. How can carbon credit origination pass the crucial additionality test? Belinda, maybe you can answer that question.
Yeah, so I didn't get the beginning of that question, but in terms of additionality, this is something that's very important. And with our methodology, there are certain retrofits which we know at the moment are additional. So we have a list of retrofits that we're working with. So as Aditya went through them earlier on, but certainly things like MEVIS ducts and low friction paints, full hull blast, modifications to the bow, propeller, etc. These are not retrofits that the bulk of owners are currently retrofitting. There's really only a section of the market that is the shipping industry which is going for these kind of retrofits. And at the moment, they are therefore deemed additional by the Gold Standard. And once they're accepted as the project as additional, then you get 5 years of carbon credits. Now, things are going to evolve very fast. At the end of 5 years, it may be that there's more than 50% of owners have low friction paints, or that they have, they've installed MEVIS ducts or ducts on their ships. And at that point, the Gold Standard may say, no, these are no longer additional. So this is something, I think the slide explains that, but it's you have to go beyond the business as usual, beyond the industry standard. And really it's for above average operations that the carbon credits can be awarded. So you can't just, with scrubbers, everybody employed scrubbers because it was part of the regulations, or they didn't, but it was a regulatory initiative. This is something that has to come from the owner's investments, and it's designed to incentivize that.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Another one. If my vessel is sold, it's a hypothetical scenario. If my vessel is sold within the 5-year period where credits are earned, will the credits follow the vessel, i.e., be a value add for my vessel? I'm not sure who's best placed to take that question.
Yeah, sure. I think the credits will be passed on, will follow the vessel. So the new owner will be able to earn the credits from the retrofits. So basically, as the question correctly said, I mean, the credits are following the vessel. So whatever fuel savings are there, the new owner will benefit from it, and also benefit from the carbon credits that follow.
Thanks. And then another question is your methodology already in place? Maybe I can expand a little bit and ask, how many projects have you developed until now, and how can people sign up to the GreenScreen program? And is there a minimum number of vessels that can be enrolled, Belinda?
Yeah, okay, thanks. So absolutely, the methodology is in place. We've been working on this for the last 3 years. We've worked with MIT to develop a methodology which revolutionizes the previous methodology and makes that much, much faster. It has been approved by the gold standard. So it is already in action. We've enrolled ships, and we're currently enrolling ships, as I mentioned earlier on, in a Q4 program that will start the process straight away. Tell me again your second, how many projects did you say?
Yeah, how many projects have you developed so far, and how can people sign up?
Okay, the projects themselves are consolidated into a program of activities. So there's no minimum number of vessels. The program of activities will incorporate many different ships from many different owners, and the credits will be aggregated. And that's because we know that the buyers of credits, ClimeCo they know these buyers of credits very well, and they like to buy volume, they like to buy at scale. And we can aggregate the credits into this blue ocean branding for the credits. And that then allows us to benefit from the economies of scale and also achieve a higher price. So we're not doing individual vessel projects, and each owner's name will not be associated with the credits themselves. They'll be branded as Blue Ocean credits. So no minimum number, and it's starting right now, and you can sign up very easily. I mean, all you need to do is, I think Aditya talked about this, is we can put together a business case for you as an example. If you have ships that are going through a retrofit program, give you an idea of the savings that we would anticipate with those retrofits. And then we would give you an idea of that business case. Once you have that, then all you need to do is provide us with some technical information on the ships, which is typically something that you have already available. So it's not going to be too burdensome. And then we will start on the GreenScreen program for the baseline screening, the pre-retrofit screening. Then you would be enrolled in the program, install your retrofit, and then after the retrofit's installed, we do a verification, a post-verification screening, and then you start to collect savings from the retrofit that's been installed. And those savings can be calculated from day one, once the retrofit has been installed. So it's a simple process. We've tried to make it as simple as possible. And indeed, if you talk to us, we'll explain in a little bit more detail, but it shouldn't be anything that takes very much time. It's a simple sign-up process, and we can explain that once you let us know what kind of ships you're going to retrofit.
Thank you. So we have time for maybe one or two last questions. So one more is why would the availability of credits diminish as more ships participate? Belinda, you want
do
to
you
take
want
that
to
one?
take that, Aditya, or
Oh.
shall I take?
Yeah. That's a good question actually. As the more credits are generated from the shipping, there'll be more supply. But the thing is, this will be a supply of high quality credits, right? So the quality of the credits is also varies in the market. There are several things such as, let's say, forestation credits. Projects like forestation, if there's a forest fire, those credits are not that valuable. When it comes to shipping or the credits that we are talking about, they are avoidance credits. We can actually measure what's the amount of carbon that you have avoided. So they are really high quality credits. What we believe is that going forward, the quality of the credits, people are going to look for that. Right now, there's the knowledge in the market is a bit blurred. So once everyone's or the buyers are more knowledgeable, the final retail consumers gather the knowledge about the credits, they would want to see that the companies that they are purchasing from, they are offsetting from using high quality credits. So we think that the supply of high quality credits will always be tight as the demand of these credits is going to increase. I'm not sure if you have anything to add to this, Belinda.
No, I think that's right. And of course, it comes back to the additionality question as well, because as more and more ships are installed have retrofits installed, it may be that over time, there are fewer options with the existing retrofits to get credits. But we know that wind assist and other newer and more pioneering retrofits are already being developed very, very fast. And it's likely that credits will be available for those. But it might be that for example, MEVIS ducts, and certainly MEVIS ducts, those are accepted now under the gold standard methodology. Those will be additional for at least the first 5 years. And it may be that in terms of availability of credits, who knows, in 5 years, they may no longer be additional if many, many owners have chosen to install them. So in that sense, the availability may get tighter, but I think there is plenty of demand out there, as Aditya said, particularly for the ocean related credits. So, but speed is of the essence, because this is something that can be done right now. And then in 5 years' time, there'll probably be much more availability of new fuels, and people will start to order ships with new fuels. It won't be so crucial to extend the lives of the existing fleet, but it is now crucial to do that, because that also saves carbon from the new building process.
Thanks. And perhaps for one last question, but before I ask, maybe you want to show the previous slide with your contact details, just to leave that on for viewers who might want to contact you. A question on pricing. So the question is, we're being offered carbon credits by various brokers at a range of $2 to $11 per CO2 ton to be used to offset voyage emissions. How does that market indication compare to the assumptions used in your revenue model? And then another question on the selling price. Will the carbon credits be sold at a fixed price predetermined at the onset, or will it vary depending on a specific index?
Well, I'll make a quick comment and then hand over to you, Aditya, shall I?
Yeah.
It's a long question, but in terms of pricing, they will be sold at the GreenScreen credits will be sold at the market price. ClimeCo will do their best to get a premium over the market price. The current price that we are using is a little bit above the index, but we believe equates to nature-based and the kind of price that can be achieved at the end of 2023. I may have missed various points, but if you want to add to that, Aditya.
Yeah, so the first question I think was for the price of the credits, so $2 to $11 a ton. That's right. I mean, the price of the credits, it varies significantly in the market. I'll go back to my point about the quality of the credits. So it depends. I mean, if you're buying the credits which are from carbon capture, then you might be offered at even higher prices. In our scenario, we have used, I think Belinda used $10 a ton price in the financial case. This is what we've seen the index fluctuating in the last year. It's gone up as high as $22 a ton to as low as $5 a ton as well. But more or less, I mean, they've stayed well above $10 a ton. So in our financial case, it's I'd say it's still on the conservative side. So there's still a lot of upside potential in the financial case. And again, we believe that the index, it contains a lot of credits of all qualities, and this is slightly higher quality. And we, and especially ClimeCo, who's got massive experience in carbon trading, they believe that we can sell these credits at a premium value. So I'd say in the financial case, $10, it's still conservative. We are likely to get a much higher price than that.
Thank you, Aditya. So everyone, I think that's all we've got time for today. Belinda and Aditya, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Andrew. And thank you all for being with us and for the questions coming in. If we haven't covered them all, we will definitely try and do that and send you a little response. So if you've put your name, we'll be able to trace you, and very happy to hear from you. Thank you to Andrew and also to Marine Money for hosting this. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk to you all, and we look forward to continuing the dialogue.
Thank you again, and just to let our viewers know that the webinar is being recorded, and it will be sent out to everyone who watched it live and to also everyone who registered. I think by tomorrow. So thank you again for watching the webinar today. I hope you enjoyed it, and looking forward to connect with you all very soon. Thank you again.